Hi, I'm Dawn and I love to explore near and far. I'm not a professional YouTuber, videographer, or editor. I'm just here to share my adventures with you. This summer, I am embarking on a 36-day road trip. Come and join me as I travel dawn to dusk. All right, as you can tell, I am no longer, or maybe you can, or maybe you can't. I am no longer in Grand Teton, but I thought we should do a little wrap up of Grand Teton because of everything that happened. And it's kind of crazy because at this point still, I don't know that I have any photo, any video, any type of footage from the beginning of the trip. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10, 11. We are currently, this is the morning of day 11, but we are going to talk about day 10, day 9, and day 8. Okay, so on day 8, I left the Custer area of South Dakota. I was driving, little video clips here and there of going from Utah to Wyoming and how things were changing. Got to Grand Teton, all excited, went to the first pull off, and I put my phone, and hey, maybe when we get my phone back, there'll be the clip of when this happened, but I put my phone up on the tripod because I'm by myself and I wanted a picture of myself in front of the Tetons. And it was breezy. And I had a bad feeling and I knew better, but I did it anyway. And as I walked in front of the camera to get the picture, a gust of wind came and the tripod went and came down on the face of the phone. So, screen, I say shattered, but it wasn't really shattered. It almost looked like fireworks. There were all little bursts all over it, but it did not work. I could not get it. I could tell the phone was working, but I couldn't get to a screen. So I kind of looked at one or two more things and called my dad in a panic and tried to figure out what I was going to do. Because when you're in the Tetons, where I was staying the first night was like almost an hour away from the town of Jackson, and that's where I had to go to do anything. So I went to the campground. I got all set up. Really sad that I didn't have a camera or a phone to show you Coulter Bay Campground. I really liked Coulter Bay Campground. It was probably the best between two worlds. You really felt like you were out in the woods. My site was surrounded by trees, but my neighbors were right there. There was somebody behind me, there was someone on the right, someone on the left, but there was tree coverage between our two sites. It was really nice. And then I was able to walk to the amphitheater and go to a ranger program. There were showers where you could take showers and rent towels. You could do laundry. There was also Wi-Fi. So this is something I haven't said yet. That was where I planned to, during the evening, edit the first couple videos and upload some things. So now we get to Coulter Bay. I have access to Wi-Fi. I have an evening that I'm sitting, chilling, relaxing, and what better place to do some editing than in the middle of Grand Teton because you actually had some service or some Wi-Fi. So I didn't get any of that done. And I actually had service almost the whole time I was in Grand Teton, but I didn't have access to anything to do anything. So that was day 8. I woke up early in the morning of day 9. There is nothing from day 9. And I went to the visitor center when it opened at 8 a.m. I got my stamp in my passport book and I started driving to Jackson. I went to Verizon and trying to figure out what to do. you can't do an insurance claim in store. You have to do it mailed. So we thought we had it all figured out. I had an insurance claim. I was having the same exact phone coming. They were going to mail it to the campground. It was going to be there the next morning. I figured out what that noise was. And things would be great. I was going to stick around the campsite in the morning, see if UPS came, maybe try to find a way to get like the tracking and see if there was an estimated time window, do some things, hang out, wait for the phone, get everything set up. Well, that didn't happen. In the morning when I called to get the tracking number because I couldn't do it on my phone even though it was texted to me, it said July 5th. So it was supposed to be delivered the morning on a Tuesday morning. That was a Friday morning. And currently it's July 4th. So I am not in Grand Teton anymore. I was going to be here at Antelope Island in Utah, so that wasn't going to work. So then for like 2 hours, I went back and forth between the insurance company who was blaming UPS. UPS was blaming the insurance company. One was saying it didn't ship out on time. The other one saying that there was a delayed flight, whatever. The insurance company was much more helpful and a lot nicer. So now I had to drive back to Jackson and figure out what am I going to do. I can't get an insurance claim phone. So went back, talked to the person working in Verizon. I have a phone right now that is not set up, that I was trying out, that I really don't love, so it will be returned. I do have a 30-day return policy on it, and in the meantime, we found somewhere to get my screen fixed so I could try to get some things off the phone and maybe use it again. So on the morning of day 10, you do have some footage of day 10 because I got up, I did all those things, and then I came back, and I didn't have enough time to do Jenny Lake, which is what I really wanted to do. So I just did there's a big scenic loop in Grand Teton, and I decided to just drive the loop, see what I could see. I saw a lot of wildlife. I now was able to record, take photos, have memories, because when I came back on day 9, when I was driving back from Jackson to my new campsite in Grovant, I drove the Moose Wilson Road, which I do recommend. It's a nice little drive if you're going to Jackson, and it's a nice little detour to come back to Grand Teton. And I stopped at a pullover, and there was a moose. And I told my mom when the phone broke that if I saw a moose and I didn't have a camera, I would cry. And I cried at the pull-off. I'm standing there crying because there's a moose, and I've been looking for a moose for the last 19 years since the last time I saw one, and everywhere I go I didn't see a moose. And I cried. And the lady next to me was nice enough to text my dad the pictures, because if she texted them to me, I might never be able to get into those old text messages. So I gave her my dad's number, and she actually texted me pictures of that moose. So that was my little moment that I had. And then I got back on the road and got going. But it was amazing. I just sat in my car, and after I was out for a while, and I just watched that moose from my car in my parking spot until it left. So I will have those pictures. Day 10 was when I went and I got the phone, and then I did the scenic loop. So there's video and photos of that, as long as everything downloads to my Google Photos through my other secondary email. Guys, make sure you know, if you have an Android phone and it's set up with a Google account, make sure you know your password, because that is part of this problem, that I couldn't just start over. And the reason why this phone isn't set up, I couldn't figure out my Google password, and it won't let me reset it without being able to get into my phone that is cracked. So then I got up on the morning of day 10, which was my last day in Grand Teton, and when I had to get here. But I really had plan to spend some time in Grand Teton and in Jackson because it's a town that I like. So I got up, and now since I hadn't had time to do Jenny Lake, I got up early. I set my alarm at 6, but it was 36 degrees at 6 a.m. and the sun was already up. I had it was kind of tough sleeping the night of the 2 nights I was in Grand Teon because it did, first couple days of July and it got down in the 30s. So I got up, set my alarm for 6 because I wanted to be on one of the first shuttles over to Jenny Lake. It didn't happen. It was just way too cold. But I did get out of there maybe a half an hour later than I wanted to. And while I was driving, there were people. I'm going to give you a pro tip. If you're in a national park and you're by yourself, you have a hard time spotting animals because you're trying to watch the road and you can't really be staring too much off to your left and right. Look for the places where all the cars are pulled over. That's usually a wildlife sighting. So there were a bunch of cars pulled over, including some tour groups. So I got out, I trudged through a sagebrush field and got all the way down the river, and the moose was gone. And I'm not talking about a small amount of trudging. I came out of the field and I had to take my hiking shoes off and my socks because they were filled with water and that wasn't going to work. So then I drove down the road a little bit. Another group pulled off to the side of the road. I pulled off. I got to see a mama moose and 2 baby moose. You'll get to see that. I have footage of that. And that, I didn't even have to get out of my car. I did get out of my car, still say anything that you see that is close up for me, I promise you, I have zoomed. I don't get close to wildlife. So if you see a nice close picture, you know I use the zoom. So I got out a safe distance, looked, saw it was a mom and 2 babies. Then she was on the move. I got right back in my car. And I have some footage of them crossing the street. And it was so cute. And I was so happy that I got to see more moose after trudging through that field where there were none. Grand Teon Campground. Apparently, people did see a mama and a baby moose in the campground. I did not. I was doing a lot of driving back and forth to Jackson. And they also said there were 2 young black bear that were hanging out in the campground and to be really careful and very diligent about food storage. So this was very close to the campground, so I'm not surprised that there were moose sightings. And then I went to Jenny Lake. I took the shuttle over. I did a hike, and it was funny because I got to like a little waterfall, and I'm like, ooh, here's Hidden Falls. Then I went around the corner. I'm like, oh, this must be Hidden Falls. Oh, wait, here's a really good view of Hidden Falls. And I did the same thing with Inspiration Point. I went up, oh, we're at Inspiration Point. Went back up on the trail a little further. Nope, that was really Inspiration Point. And I hiked out a little bit further than Inspiration Point. I didn't have enough time to do what I really wanted to do, which was go out to the beginning of the canyon. But apparently, if you believe who was talking around us, I think we missed 2 bear sightings on the trail because one said it was a half mile, one said it was a mile and a half away, and one said it was a cinnamon black bear, and one said it was a blonde black bear. So that sounds like 2 different sightings to me. So I turned around, went back, and then I had to get moving because I called the place to fix my phone, and he was kind of telling me it wasn't going to get done. I had a 5-hour drive to get to him, and I wasn't leaving without seeing Jenny Lake. And he said, well, they were too busy yesterday, and that was day 10, and that they weren't open on Thursday, which is today, because of 4th of July, and that maybe they could get to it on Friday. And I just kind of stayed on that phone with that guy and wasn't taking no for an answer because I told him, listen, I am driving to Nevada on Friday. I'm like out of options. So talked to him. And finally he said, if I got there before 7 o'clock last night, that he would have it done for Friday morning. Don't know how, because they were closing at 7 o'clock and they were opening 10 o'clock Friday morning and there was nobody around in between. So I have no clue unless the storefront closes and they still have people working after 7 or before 10 when the storefront opens. But he tells me, and the guy at the store also told me, I can come in at 10 o'clock Friday morning. So that'll be day 12. So yesterday I drove from Teton's, did not stop in Jackson. I'm very sad because I had planned to go shopping and have lunch and then drive over here. Instead, I drove straight, just stopped for gas, did nothing else. Got to the store around 6:30, dropped off my phone. The guy said it'll be ready Friday morning. My fingers are crossed, guys. They really are. So the end of day 10 was going to that store, going to Walmart to stock up. I got firewood, I got ice, I got some extra food. I then went to In-N-Out Burger for dinner last night. I've been very good at eating what I have and cooking and everything, but hey, I'm in Utah and I'm an East Coast girl. I was having In-N-Out. And then got to my campsite at Antelope Island State Park in Utah in the middle of the Great Salt Lake, just in time for the sunset. So now, I know that was a little confusing. Now I think you're pretty much caught up on day 8, 9, and 10. 8, I had a phone part of the day. 9, I had no phone at all. 10, I had a phone part of the day. And now we're getting ready to start day 11, I think.